Hello, it is Friday the 15th of November. I'm going to take a look at some crypto ahead of the US Open. And let's talk about what kind of a week it's been and what's on the radar for what might be setting up next. So this week, after the kind of euphoric reaction to the Trump election, all of the stuff that really moved fast and after the Trump election kind of hit projected levels or resistance levels and have gone sideways this week. A few other stuff has moved pretty nicely in the crypto world. In the regular market, we have seen a little bit of choppy pullback in stock indexes, particularly last night after Chairman Powell kind of held off a little bit, suggested potentially a bit of a pause in the rate cuts, and futures dipped on that. He basically said that the central bank is in no rush to cut interest rates. So potentially now, with the red sweep complete for Trump of the House and the Senate, it also kind of makes the market think that there are more inflationary pressures possible as well, and that would also potentially add to Jerome Powell's hesitation. So not cutting rates has caused a bit of a pause in the stocks and a little bit of sideways chop after after last week's euphoria. Not quite a reversal yet, but just very choppy, difficult trading. And that's pretty much been the story of the week in some of the crypto assets that rallied first after the Trump election, like Bitcoin, which hit a big fib projection level, and for example Dogecoin, which hit a big 50% retrace level. So we'll talk about them and see what's setting up next. So Bitcoin, why is this a big fib projection level? Because we're in a fifth wave, right? If we measure back to the November 2022 low, this is wave 1, this is wave 2, they all subdivide into 5. This is big wave 3 here. This is our wave 4 that we just finished on the 5th of August from the March high. And if we measure from this low to this high, we've reached 2.618 of this distance that this first swing is. That's a very common relationship, 1.618 or 2.618. If we continue above here, I think we could go to 115, which would be 4.236 of this. But this, even if we're going to do just some consolidation and some back and fill and continue higher, is one of those levels where it's likely to happen. And this week, what we've done after pausing here is just seen some price discovery. We've been looking above this level to see if this will bring new buyers in and if we can continue higher, and we haven't seen that. Instead, we've kind of fallen back. So for me, we're still sideways, and it's not kind of a level where I want to put new longs on or buy anymore until I see a bigger pullback or everything kind of resets, the moving averages catch up, and I've got some kind of support to be buying against. So if it does break higher, I'm going to look on pullbacks that we don't fall back underneath this level before I think about buying any more Bitcoin. ETH has been really underperforming, and ETH is in that kind of no man's land. So if we look at the high we made in March for ETH and the low that we made on the 5th of August, we're in that 61.8, 38.2 kind of golden ratio zone. At the moment, potentially, this 50% level through the middle here, which is at 3,075, could be some support. So it's one of those levels where I would look at on a lower time frame and say, you know what, this kind of does look pretty corrective. If we could recover these hourly moving averages, or if I measured, say, for example, from this high to this low, if we got above this 236 fib level, I would think we'll see a bigger bounce here. That comes in at 3,117. So above there, I think ETH could see a bigger bounce into the weekend. Staying underneath it, though, kind of keeps me on the sidelines. And because ETH is underperforming so badly, I'm all in favor of catch-up trades, but I really don't see this one yet. So I'm on the sidelines with that one. I've got a request to look at another big OG coin, and that is Ripple. Now, when Ripple was trading sideways in this year-long bottoming pattern that we have been making from the high that we made in July 2023, when we got back above the weekly 200 moving average this week following the election and took out the highs from July and September, I said that the first target was going to be this big 236 fib again. And this 236 fib comes from the high in 2018 to the low in 2020. It's, even though, you know, we've been through it a few times, it is still pretty strong support, and resistance is at 0.86. And when we tried to do it in July, we couldn't close above it. If we can this time, this level should be, we shouldn't trade and close back underneath it, and we should continue higher. For me, the first target is 1.43 and the second target is 2.13. I'm not going to say the second target is a sure thing yet, you know, kind of, but at the moment, because this is so overstretched this week, I want to see where this closes on Sunday. And if it closes above 0.86, then happy days. I think that pullbacks are in order, or maybe some sideways consolidation, and we would look for this to continue higher to 1.43. So potentially it is setting up very nicely. But if we look at where we are, though, it's really only in the last hour since I've been recording this that we are holding above this level, and kind of you want to see this pull back and hold against it, even if you are going to buy it today. Especially once, you know, from the low here on the 13th, we can see 5 waves, and at some point, you know, we could see a bigger pullback, potentially back to this swing low, and it would then start to look like a little bit of a false breakout. So watch out for that in Ripple, but this is a big deal level. If we can hold above it, those are my targets. Okay, the next chart we're going to look at is Doge. Let's talk about where we are with Doge. Said at the beginning of the week that I sold and got out of the way in this one, and the reason was it was just like Bitcoin. It had reached a really big deal level. Let's tidy up my chart here. It's just looking at where we are on the RSI, and that is 50% from the highs that we made in 2021 to the lows that we made in June 2022. And because we validated this 236 fib level here, I'm leaning on these fib levels, and this 50%, the one in the middle, is a big deal. And as long as we don't, you know, fibs are like a step ladder, really. You kind of don't want to fall back underneath the other one, otherwise you're going to do a bigger kind of pattern reversal. So I think that there is a good chance that we pull back to 0.32, right? Which would be this 38.2 fib, 38.2 fib on a back test. And because if we close underneath that, you know, mean reverting markets tend to keep mean reverting, and it's a while until 20th of January when Elon gets in. So if we fall back underneath that level that I'm watching, we will see a 50% retrace going the other way. Now, do I think that that will be a fantastic buying opportunity? Yes, but I don't want to, you know, having been long Doge, anticipating the selection, I don't want to ride it all the way back down. And that would mean all the way back to 0.24 in Doge if we lose this support here at 0.32. So that's why I'm on the sidelines in Doge. Now, when I'm on the sidelines, I'm looking at this on the lower time frames, because I think there's a good chance that this, from the lows in October, is just a wave 4. So this is our wave 2 here, and then we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 3, and so we could just be in a very nice wave 4. Quite often wave 4s are triangles or wedges, and so we could end up, you know, kind of doing 5 waves like this in Doge. And if we saw that pattern, I'm all in for the next wave higher and the 5th wave. But if we don't, or if we lose these lows, I think that there is a good chance that we come back down towards that 0.32 level. And will I still buy it there if we get bullish reversal price action there? Of course I will. I do, you know, there are really good macro reasons why Doge, I think, could do well in this cycle, as long as Trump and Elon stay friends. So that's what I'm looking for in Doge, and that's why I got out. I was expecting some sideways, and I want to see if that turns into something bigger of a correction or not. Okay, I've got a request to look at CRO. I don't know what Here we go, CRO. So when we looked at this one before, we were looking at this very nice bullish reversal, and we said that if we Our first target was likely to be this 236 fib at 0.27. That's a 236 fib retrace all the way from the highs in CRO. And again, these have been around forever. This is the 2021 highs, and we would be wrong if this was just an ABC. Now, these measured moves, sometimes they become pause levels, even if it's not actually where you're going to reverse. So if I were to measure from this low to this high, what we have seen is some profit taking at this equal measured move level, which is at 0.2. You know, when you have a measured move swing like this, you kind of only confirm the reversal if you trade back underneath the 61.8, and then it kind of looks like you're going to do a bigger all the way back, you know, before you maybe have another go. And so you'll end up doing something like 3 waves up, 3 waves back, you know, and so on. So very key support then at 0.15 in Cronos if it's going to keep going higher. And when I go down to the daily, no surprise that 0.15 is where we have bounced from very nicely. If we go down another time frame, you'll see there's a very nice choppy overlapping correction, and we are bouncing from exactly the right level. I would expect to see at least another leg higher here. So I don't think that this is a terrible idea to, especially we've just flipped our hourly moving averages. I don't think this is a terrible idea if you were waiting to try and buy some of this to see if we can turn higher here. We're not quite, we're just setting it up. And what we kind of want to do is don't want to do 3 waves going this way, because that would mean that we're not quite done. We've got another leg lower. But yeah, Cronos has pulled back to ideal support. The first target, if we push higher from here, is going to be a retest of that equal measured mu level at 0.2, and above 0.2 I think we go to 0.27 or 0.28, which is our target. So above 0.2 looking really good to continue higher to 0.28, but not quite sure that this correction is over yet for Cronos. Okay, next one, we're going to smoking chicken fries. This is one that I bought because I thought that this was setting up pretty nicely for another leg high. If I look at this big picture from the lows in August, this looks like our first swing and a pullback, and I'm looking for another swing higher. And when I look on a lower time frame, I kind of like this bottoming pattern, and I liked how we had gotten above the daily 50 moving average, which was, let's face it, resistance since, you know, for the last 3 weeks really. And so we had gotten above it, we were holding above it. For me, that's always a good sign that we're going to keep going higher. But all of these bottoming patterns, and particularly head and shoulders patterns, fail when they are not actually head and shoulders patterns, but they are kind of just equal measured move corrections. So if we say this is our headline and this is our breakout, normally if you've got that pattern, you should see stronger movement higher, which is making me a little bit nervous. So a daily close back underneath this daily 50, and I'm going to get out, I'm afraid, and wait for a better setup in this one. And if I measure, let's go down one time frame down to the 4 hour. If I measure from the low that we made on the 3rd of this month, like this, this is the equal measured move level here, look. So these two swings are equal. And so getting stuck underneath 0.075 and holding underneath it, unfortunately, makes this just a 3-wave correction. And I'm going to get out of the way because the most common retrace of a big ABC like this is 786, which will be all the way back to these lows. And it's not the bottoming pattern that I was hoping for. At the moment, I'm still in. I'm going to wait and see. But that's my plan with this one. So let's talk about, I've got some more requests. Let's talk about Goatsy. Now this one, this is the MEX chart. We're going from the low here on the 14th of October. If we do this is this big 3-wave pattern here, big 3-wave pattern back. And when you do that, and I measure this first swing low to high, project it from here, first target was the 61.8 level here at 0.93, which we went sideways at very nicely and have broken out from. As long as we hold above this 0.93 level, we can buy pullbacks, and our next upside target is 1.25, and that's where this swing and this swing will be equal. If we go beyond that, obviously our third target will be up here if this really takes off or it gets a listing or something. Then the next target will be where this swing is 61.8 of this first swing, which is 1.77. So 1.25 and 1.77 are the targets. I think this is a really cool one to buy pullbacks in. However, sometimes there's this broadening pattern, or we could argue, that this is just maybe a bit of resistance here. I don't know. I'm not feeling it, I have to say. I think we're holding above it. But if you wait and buy pullbacks and we don't drop back underneath 0.93 would be the best way in this one. Looks like we're just starting maybe a little bit of a pullback here. Not really reversing yet though, is it? So a higher low, not back underneath 0.93. I'm looking for this one to continue higher to 1.25. So not a buy right here. Kind of needs to pull back, but if you get that, I think it's a good opportunity in goat. Okay, here's another one that I bought today. Let's look at this one. What page, here we go. ZK. Let's talk about why I bought this one and why I think this maybe has legs. So this is ZK. If we go from the highs on, this is a Binance coin. If we go from the highs that we made when this was launched in June, we made a very nice three-wave correction, double bottom kind of swing failure pattern down here at 0.095. We validated our fibs with this nice reaction at the 236 fib. And then we kind of went back and forward. If you look inside here, it was still pretty good support and resistance. And then we did this strong move up to the 38.2. If we do that, I would expect, if we're going to keep going higher and do another kind of equal swing up to the 50%, I would expect this 236 fib to be support. And I don't want to see it kind of back underneath it. For me, that would be like, yeah, okay, this party's over. So 0.13 is pretty important support. I want to see it become support now. It's also the daily 50 moving average, which has previously been resistance, then support, support, support. So I'm looking for a bullish reversal here. Sometimes it doesn't do it the first bounce. Sometimes you kind of have to bounce off it and you make a double bottom or a double top, or like we did here, typical crypto, or a typical crypto one where, we make a low and then we make a slightly false breakdown, lower low before we reverse. So I'm watching for a bullish reversal pattern here. I don't want to see a daily close underneath 0.13, and if we get one, I think it's a really good buy to retest the highs at 0.16, and then target would be 0.1875 for ZK. I kind of like the tech a little bit on this one, so that's what I'm watching this one for. And we'll see if it reverses. Another way to see if it's reversing, you can see we've got some pretty tough lows here. First time back to them, we're likely to not get above them. Another way to see if is if we put the fib retraces from this high to this low. This is the 236 fib that we need to hold above. It's at 0.1389 and we haven't done it yet. I would like to see it on a lower time frame become support, and we haven't. Got a little double top here. So I'm just watching to see if this one has bottomed. I bought a little bit here. I'm going to wait and see if it can, and I will get out of the way if it doesn't work. Another one that I've been watching is Aptos. I mentioned this quite a while ago because I kind of liked the big bottoming pattern in this one down here. This is a daily chart of Aptos. We made a very nice inverted head and shoulders pattern here that wasn't an equal measure move, although a little bit here you're kind of going, is it going to really go or not? But it really is going. And if we look at this on the weekly, because this was another very nice, I'm looking for this swing and this swing to have a relationship. So first target on the upside, 14.8. Second target is 21. And let's put regular candles on. So my strategy with this is to get out when it rolls over and buy pullbacks. We've had some very nice three-wave pullbacks here. This was to the daily 200 moving average. We held above it. This was a bit further back than I thought, but we didn't break this previous swing low. And now if we're trending again, I would like to see this make a very nice kind of 50% and keep riding higher, if you like. If I look at this on the 4-hour, this looks like a very nice 3-wave measured move. Back to the 4-hour moving averages, it's giving me a 4-hour buy signal by my little strategy. If I measure from this high to low in Aptos as well, we've pushed above this 236 fib level, which is at 11.71. So I'm going to stay long and try and ride this one as long as it doesn't fall back underneath 11.71, and see if we can start another swing higher in this one after this very nice 3-wave correction. And first target is up here, 14.8. And we'll go from there. Let's go up to the weekly. That 14.8 again is the measured move based on this first swing. And the second target, if we can push through 14.8, I think we'll see some pullbacks on the way, obviously, but retest the highs and potentially 21.3 next. So that's what I'm looking for in Aptos. That's why I bought a little bit of that today. Not terribly confident in everything I bought today. I think I just, sometimes you have to put your toe in the water and keep trying, monitor it, and if it works, happy days, and if not, you get out of the way and wait for the next setup. So another one that I did that with today was INJ. I am not entirely convinced. Let me see if I can find INJ. Here we go. Let's talk about the reasons why. Well, so we got knocked back in INJ. If this is a weekly chart, potentially we've done an equal measured move. But if I'm wrong about this and this is the bottom and we're going to keep going higher in INJ, we should not drop back underneath this 61.8 level. So that's where from this low to high, projected from here, this is our support, 23.05. So I was watching this 23.05 level to see if we could find some support here. Hasn't quite gone yet, but I feel like this looks like quite a strong swing and a 3-wave move, and so I'm waiting to see if we can get back above these hourly moving averages in INJ, and if we can, I'm looking for a retest of 27, or actually 27, which is the equal measured move target, and that would kind of confirm we're on our way up again. Not quite gone yet, but this, and we're a little bit stuck underneath these hourly moving averages. They're all bunched up. But if we get back above them, happy days, and if not, I'm going to get out of the way very quickly. This one is just tentative because it was a level that I had marked, and we kind of, when we pull back into it, that's where I'm going to see. So I'm going to look and see if we can break out of this sideways consolidation in INJ, and those are the levels I'm watching for. I also today bought some WIF. So let's take a look at WIF. See where we're going with this one. So big weekly chart. This is another very kind of nice bottom, inverted head and shoulders. Right, let's take everything off here. On the weekly, this looks like an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So we broke the neckline. So if we do that, your first target, right, you measure from the low to the neckline and you go twice that distance. So we're kind of at our target here in WIF, and we've pulled back. Are we going to keep going because this is a bottom? Well, I measure from this first swing, project it from here and see where we are, where we need to close above to get to our equal measured move target. So if I do that here, you can see that we are sideways at this 61.8 level, and if we can hold and continue above 3.95, we're looking for 5.7. Now if we look at what we've done here, so we've been a little bit sideways, but so far it's just a little bit of a 3-wave correction. I'd like to see this one have another go. Again, this is not looking like it's going to do it. Now, the one thing that I bought a little and I wanted to add, if we could close above this 236 fib level, it's at 3.71. We have not. That's our confirmation, again, measured from this high to low. That's our confirmation that we're going higher. So I will buy some more if we can get above 3.71. Otherwise, it says to me, unfortunately, this correction isn't over and we're likely to come back to these swing low double bottom zone around 2.93 and the hourly 200 moving average. So I might step aside in this one with. I am watching for this pullback. This, if we make the lower level and we come back to these swing lows, this would also be not just the hourly 200 moving average, but it would be a back test of this neckline of the head and shoulders pattern at 2.9. So it looks like perhaps, unless we can get above 3.71, I think that we could see a bigger pullback there in width. I like this one, so we keep watching it, see if we can get in, but that's what I'm looking for. So SEI is another one that I really like, that I keep trying to have a go. Let's try and find SEI here. This is another one very similar pattern of this back testing the 236 fib, and in SEI it's also back testing all the daily moving averages at 0.425. So on this Binance chart, from the high in March to the low that we made on the 5th of August, we've been, this 236 fib is also pretty good support and resistance. It's where our daily 50 moving averages, and we've been a little bit washy and sideways through it. We had a little bit good price action here in the middle where it was support, resistance. I would like to see this now be support, and if we don't, I think in SEI this is going to end up being a bigger kind of sideways nasty chop zone. So I'm looking for this to be support. If I do the same thing as I've done with all the other charts today, I'm looking like this. I thought this was a pretty nice choppy overlapping correction, maybe finished, and we have bounced very nicely from this 236 fib. We had a very nice little 15-minute bottoming pattern here. If I put my fibs on from this high here to this low, you can see that we are trading above this 236 fib. And so as long as we don't close back underneath it, I'm looking for this to keep going higher, 0.444. If we do, I think that we could end up doing a bigger kind of bottoming pattern if everything has a shakeout today, and I'll wait and try again. But SEI, if it's going to go from here, back testing these daily moving averages and back testing this big 236 fib level is a really good place to do it from. So as long as we don't close underneath 0.425, I've got a tentative long here to see if this one can keep going. First resistance will be at 0.56, but my first target will be 0.67 in SEI. Okay, let's take a look at Floki, another request for Floki, which I have lost. Here we go, Floki. Now, this one on the weekly, let's talk about where we are. I think this made a very nice 5 waves up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a very nice 3-wave correction back to the weekly moving averages, and here we are on our way up again. If we say this was wave 1 and wave 2, this was a very nice 3-wave correction, but I'm not sure if this is A, B, C or 1 or 2. But if I measure this first move and this second move, you can see that this swing has gone to 1.618. This is very common if this is a wave 3. So if this is the case, this move from the low on the 4th of November is a wave 3 2-week rally, then I would expect this not to pull back kind of more than 50%, ideally something like 38.2, and we will, in a wave 4, and will continue higher from here. So if I look at this swing from the 4th of November low, so far we're a little bit sideways at this 236 fib level, but if I go down a time frame, you can see we have not broken these levels. Ideally, this is where I don't want to see it back underneath 0.182. Sorry, 18,200, and it's also that's also this swing low here from Wednesday. As long as we don't drop underneath that, I think that we are still in an uptrend. And Floki, it's not quite the right price action yet to continue higher, but I am looking for it not to drop below there and another bigger swing higher in this one. So not a buy today, but one that I'm stalking. And to be honest, we could just go sideways and break from this sideways consolidation here. You know, we could end up doing one of those kind of bullish flag patterns sideways. If we do continue higher, next up I think will be 31,000 and a retest of the highs from March and June in this one. And then because this is a big 5 waves and a 3-wave correction, we should actually in Floki go much higher than that. Whenever I'm not sure and I'm looking at it like this, I put my fibs on the big high to low like this, right? And we validated this 236 fib here very nicely. We paused at the 38.2 here, and here we are sideways at this 50% level. A close this week above 22,243 would be very bullish for Floki to continue higher. And then I'm just going to go level to level to level. So 25,230, 29,400, retest the highs, and then so on. So pretty key level here in the middle. 50% of the whole drop is always a bit of a tricky level. I'd really like to see this hold this week, close above this to keep going higher. And then finally, I got a request for Pepe, which of course had big news this week and has had a really lovely move on it. I kind of feel like Pepe's had the move, so we're going to be looking, is it going to keep going higher or not? Now, if we zoom out again on Pepe, and this is another one which has, from the lows in October 2023, it did a very nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. This was a very nice 3-wave correction, bottoming on the 5th of August with everything else. And so if I'm right, this should be, we're starting wave 3 of 3, which should be the most strongest, powerful one. And so far, so good. And so just like WIF that we just looked at, I'm looking at this potentially as being a big wave 3 and a wave 4, and Pepe continuing higher from here. And if that's the case, and we measure from the low that we made on the 5th of November, that means that this 38.2 is pretty good support. This is where we've bounced from, and that it would not be quite so bullish back underneath a 50% retrace if this is a wave 3, and that's at 1695. So ideal trend support is at 1907, and we would be, but it could come back further to 1695, and we would be more bearish underneath that. So when I'm looking at it here, so far, look, we made a very nice 3-wave pullback in Pepe to this ideal trend support, and haven't been able to get back above this 236 fib level on the back test. I would really like to see a higher low here. And then back above that level would suggest that we're on our way up again, back above 2171. I probably won't trade this one. I feel like if we look at it back on the daily, it feels like a little bit overstretched, and sometimes I like to see it go a little bit more sideways for a bit longer, let the moving averages catch up. But if it's in a really parabolic move and it's going to keep going, and if we look at this as a little wave 2 and we're going to see another leg higher, it might just keep going from here. So if you've got some, I certainly wouldn't give up on it, and I don't think that high is in this one. Okay, if there's anything else you'd like me to have a look at, let me know. Those are the ones I'm looking at. I feel like everything has got a little bit overcooked, and we could see a little bit of a bigger pullback whilst the market digests the disappointment that we're not going to get potentially more immediate rate cuts.